Last April, West Rock made an announcement that the paper mill that had been a staple in the community for 90 years will be closing. To help preserve its memory, the Historical Society of Bay County has created a new exhibit at the Bay County History Museum. News Channel 7 got a sneak peek into the past and shares what this new exhibit has in store. The iconic whistle that could be heard outside of the Panama City paper mill for decades is now just a memory. Traveling back in time to the 1930s, the month of April, where Panama City commissioners passed an emergency ordinance to give Southern Craft Corporation permission to build a paper mill.
The premise of this arrangement was for the city to own the property, lease it to Southern Craft Corporation, and collect lease payments on the property while Southern Craft built and operated a paper mill and a municipal dock. And I won't tell any more of the story because it needs to be told in person. And it's quite a long story. It actually takes an hour to cover 10 months of this history.
Eventually, that paper mill was opened, and an article in February of 1931 commemorates the mill making its first reel of paper, and the rest is history.
And it was built in, which is extraordinary, from the date it was announced, April the 10th, 1930, the mill started making paper 10 months later. And the Panama City Mill has two historic distinctions of being the first paper mill in the state of Florida and the first paper mill to produce linerboard on a Forginier style machine.
Fast forward to April of 2022, the mill made news headlines after West Rock announced it would be closing for good. In May, the No. 2 paper machine made its last reel of paper. And today, the mill property sits empty. But former workers will never forget the impacts it made on the local economy.
It's something that was here for 90 years, and there was a lot of things that the paper mill influenced and touched with lots of lives. And you've got to remember, when this paper mill was built, it was built during the Depression.
Now the rich history of the mill is being preserved through an exhibit at the Bay County History Museum, from video that dates back to the 1930s.
It's one of the extraordinary parts of the exhibit is to actually have a 1932 video. It was originally 16mm film.
To photographs taken before the mill even existed.
There's a sawmill there, but what's unique is a four-masted schooner's picking up lumber and four-masted schooner picking up its product.
To telling the stories about generations of families working there.
For the people that worked at the mill, and especially the ones that at the very end of the mill last year, it was pretty much a family affair where generations of families, from grandfather to father to son to cousin to uncle and aunt, both male and female, worked as a family out at that paper mill. And for my personal family, my wife's grandfather came here in 1930 from Louisiana to help build the mill. He worked there until 1952, and then my father-in-law started in 1952 and worked till 1988, and I started in permanent in 1977, and finished my career in 2019. So her family, my wife's family, was at that mill for 90 years.
And displaying a treasure trove into the past, ensuring Bay County never forgets the Panama City paper mill. Well, if you would like to check out some of these items and those rare photos and video tonight from 5:30 to 7, the museum is going to be hosting the opening of the Panama City paper mill exhibit. And still ahead, severe weather.